The air in the CBS studio was electric that crisp autumn morning in 2025. The set of Gayle King Live, a revamped morning talk show blending hard-hitting interviews with celebrity glamour, buzzed with anticipation. Bright lights beamed down on the sleek, modern stage, where oversized armchairs faced each other like gladiators in an arena. The live audience, a mix of eager fans and media insiders, chatted excitedly, their phones at the ready. No one knew that this episode would become one of the most talked about moments in television history. What started as a routine promotional appearance would explode into a raw, unfiltered confrontation that left viewers questioning the boundaries of journalism, celebrity, and human empathy. But nobody, not the producers, not the audience, and certainly not Gayle King herself, could have predicted the firestorm about to unfold. Angelina Jolie strode onto the set with her signature poise, her dark hair cascading in loose waves and her outfit a simple yet elegant black pantsuit that screamed understated power. At 50, she was still the epitome of Hollywood royalty, an Oscar winner, a director, a humanitarian icon. She was there to promote her latest film, a gripping drama about refugee crises titled Echoes of Exile, inspired by her real-life work with the UNHCR. The audience erupted in applause as she waved graciously, flashing that enigmatic smile that had captivated the world for decades. Gayle King, seated across from her, rose to greet her with a warm hug. "Angelina, welcome! It's an honor to have you here," Gayle said, her voice smooth and inviting, as the two settled into their seats. The other co-hosts, a panel of 3 women including a lifestyle expert and a political commentator, nodded enthusiastically, adding their own compliments. The atmosphere felt light, almost celebratory. Little did anyone know, the warmth was about to shatter like glass under pressure. As the segment kicked off, Gayle dove right into the film's themes. "Angelina, Echoes of Exile is such a powerful story about displacement and human rights. You've been a UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador for over 20 years now. What drew you to this project?" Angelina leaned forward, her eyes lighting up with genuine passion. "It's about giving voice to the voiceless, Gayle. I've seen firsthand the resilience of refugees in camps around the world, from Syria to Afghanistan. This film isn't just entertainment, it's a call to action for empathy and global responsibility." The audience murmured in approval, a few even clapping softly. The co-host chimed in with nods and affirming "mms." For a moment, it seemed like the perfect interview, insightful, inspiring, and ratings gold. But then, Gayle's expression shifted ever so slightly, a subtle narrowing of her eyes, a tilt of her head. And that's when the first crack appeared. What she said next would send a ripple through the studio, leaving everyone on the edge of their seats. Gayle paused, her smile fading into something more probing. "That's admirable, Angelina. But let's get real for a second. You've built this image as a global humanitarian, fighting for families torn apart by war and poverty. Yet in your own life..." She trailed off dramatically, letting the words hang in the air. The audience fell silent, sensing the shift. Angelina's posture stiffened almost imperceptibly, but she maintained her composure. "In my own life?" she prompted calmly, though her voice carried a hint of steel. Gayle leaned in, her tone sharpening. "Well, your highly publicized divorce from Brad Pitt, the custody battles, the allegations flying back and forth. Some say it's hypocritical to preach about protecting children worldwide while your own family has been, shall we say, fractured. How do you reconcile that?" Gasps echoed from the audience. One co-host, the lifestyle expert named Mia, shifted uncomfortably in her seat, exchanging a wide-eyed glance with the political commentator, Lena. Producers in the control room froze, their headsets buzzing with urgent whispers. Angelina's jaw tightened, but she responded with measured grace. "Gayle, my personal life has been under a microscope for years, and I've always tried to shield my children from that. Divorce is painful for any family, but it doesn't diminish my commitment to humanitarian work." The tension was palpable now, the studio lights feeling hotter, the cameras zooming in closer. But Gayle wasn't done, not by a long shot. What she pressed next would push Angelina to her limits, and the fallout would be explosive. The exchange hung in the balance, the audience holding their collective breath. Gayle, known for her no-holds-barred style that had earned her Emmys and controversy in equal measure, doubled down. Come on, Angelina. You're out there advocating for stable homes for refugees, but critics, and there are many, point to your own choices. Adopting children from around the world, then dragging them through a messy split. Is this really about helping others, or is it about crafting a saintly persona to distract from personal chaos? The words landed like a punch. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A few audience members shook their heads in disbelief, while others nodded subtly, intrigued by the boldness. Mia tried to interject, her voice shaky. Gayle, maybe we should stick to the film. But Gayle waved her off gently, eyes locked on Angelina. The humanitarian star's hands, resting on her lap, clenched slightly, a small tell of the storm brewing inside. I won't apologize for my humanity, Angelina replied, her voice steady but laced with emotion. My work with UNHCR isn't a facade, it's born from seeing real suffering. And yes, I've faced my own struggles, therapy, heartbreak, the works. But that makes me more empathetic, not less. The camera caught a producer pacing frantically offstage, gesturing to cut to commercial. Yet the show rolled on, live and unfiltered. As the back and forth intensified, an unexpected revelation from Angelina's past was about to surface, turning the interview into a powder keg ready to ignite. Angelina took a deep breath, her eyes meeting Gayle's directly. The studio was so quiet you could hear the faint hum of the overhead lights and the distant click of someone in the audience snapping a photo on their phone. Gayle, let's talk about hypocrisy for a moment, Angelina said, her tone shifting from defensive to assertive. You've built a career on empathy, interviewing survivors, champions of justice. But here you are, using my personal pain as fodder for ratings. Is that journalism, or just sensationalism? The audience erupted in a mix of gasps and scattered applause. Lena, the political commentator, finally spoke up, her face flushed. This is getting intense. Angelina, your work has inspired millions. Let's not lose sight of that. But Gayle, unfazed, fired back with a sarcastic chuckle. Oh, I'm all for inspiration, but let's not pretend celebrities are above scrutiny. You've used your platform to call out world leaders on family separations at borders. Yet your own kids have spoken publicly about feeling caught in the crossfire of your divorce. Doesn't that sting? The jab hit home. Angelina's eyes glistened for a split second, a rare glimpse of vulnerability from the usually unflappable star. Off camera, security personnel hovered closer to the set, sensing the volatility. The control room was in chaos, with one producer yelling into a headset. Do we cut? This is gold, but it's risky. As Angelina gathered her thoughts for a response, a shocking admission slipped out, one that would redefine the entire conversation and leave the world buzzing. But just when it seemed like she might back down, something inside her snapped. The weight of the moment pressed down on the studio like a storm cloud. Angelina's voice trembled slightly as she leaned forward, her words cutting through the tension. You want the truth, Gayle? Fine. During my divorce, I hit rock bottom, questioning everything, including my role as a mother and an advocate. But I sought help, rebuilt, and kept fighting for those without a voice. That's not hypocrisy, that's resilience. The audience was divided now. Some wiped away tears, empathizing with her raw honesty. Others whispered skeptically, phones recording every second. Gayle, sensing she'd struck a nerve, pressed harder with a smirk. Resilience or deflection? Come on, Angelina, own it. Your humanitarian trips look great on Instagram, but do they really change anything, or is it just virtue signaling from a Hollywood elite? Mia and Lena exchanged horrified glances, Mia murmuring, This is too much. The cameras captured it all, Angelina's fists subtly tightening on the armrest, Gayle's confident lean, the audience's frozen stares. Suddenly, Angelina stood up slowly, her chair scraping against the floor with a sharp echo that silenced the room. Enough, she said, her voice booming with quiet authority. The producers panicked, signaling wildly for a commercial break. But Angelina wasn't finished, not yet. What she said next would echo across social media for weeks. But the real twist was about to drop, one that no one saw coming. To be continued. But what if Angelina's next words revealed a secret alliance that could flip the script on Gayle entirely? Don't miss part 2 to find out how this confrontation escalates into television legend. The CBS studio was a pressure cooker, the air thick with anticipation as Angelina Jolie stood, her silhouette framed by the harsh studio lights. The audience of Gayle King Live sat frozen, their phones still recording, capturing every second of the unfolding drama. The scrape of Angelina's chair still echoed faintly, a sound that seemed to hang in the air like a warning shot. Gayle King, momentarily thrown by Angelina's sudden move, leaned back in her seat, her confident smirk faltering for a split second. The other co-hosts, Mia and Lena, exchanged frantic glances, unsure whether to intervene or let the moment play out. Offstage, producers in the control room were in full-blown panic, their voices crackling through headsets. "Do we cut to commercial? She's standing. Nobody briefed us for this." The cameras stayed locked on Angelina, her face a mix of resolve and raw emotion. What she was about to say would not only silence Gayle but send shockwaves across the internet. The world wasn't ready for the secret she was about to unveil. Angelina's voice, steady but laced with fire, cut through the silence. "You want to talk about impact, Gayle? Let's talk about what's real. For years, I've worked quietly with organizations that don't make headlines, small NGOs, grassroots groups in places like Yemen and South Sudan. I don't post every meeting on Instagram because it's not about me. It's about them." The audience stirred, a few nodding in quiet admiration, but Gayle wasn't ready to back down. She tilted her head, her tone dripping with skepticism. "That's a lovely story, Angelina, but let's be honest, those trips make for great PR. How much of it is really for the cause, and how much is to polish your halo?" The jab was sharp, and the crowd gasped, a mix of shock and morbid fascination. Mia tried to jump in again, her voice trembling. "I think we're getting off track. Angelina's film is about real issues." But Angelina raised a hand, silencing her without breaking eye contact with Gayle. "I'm not done," she said, her voice now carrying a weight that made the studio feel smaller. What came next would flip the entire narrative, and expose a side of Gayle's approach that no one expected. "You want to question my motives?" Angelina continued, stepping closer to the edge of the stage, her presence commanding every eye in the room. "Then let's talk about yours. I know about the memo, Gayle." The studio went dead silent, the kind of quiet where you could hear a pin drop, or the faint buzz of a camera zooming in. Gayle's eyes widened briefly, a crack in her polished facade. "What memo?" she asked, her voice betraying a hint of unease. Angelina's lips curved into a faint, knowing smile. "The one from your producers, leaked to me by someone in this very studio. It instructed you to push the controversy angle on my appearance today to boost ratings for the fall season. You didn't ask those questions out of curiosity, you were following orders." The audience erupted in murmurs, some gasping, others whispering furiously. Lena, the political commentator, leaned forward, her mouth slightly agape, while Mia clutched her notepad like a lifeline. The control room was chaos, with the producer shouting, "Who leaked that? Find them!" But the cameras stayed rolling, capturing every second of the bombshell. Gayle opened her mouth to respond, but Angelina wasn't finished, and what she revealed next would turn the tables completely. The revelation hung in the air like smoke, and the audience was eating it up, their phones flashing as they recorded the moment. Gayle recovered quickly, her years of broadcast experience kicking in. "That's a bold claim, Angelina," she said, forcing a laugh. "You're saying I'm just a puppet for the producers? Come on, I ask tough questions because people want the truth." But her deflection didn't land. Angelina crossed her arms, her gaze piercing. "The truth? Then why didn't you mention the $2 million my foundation quietly donated to refugee education programs last year? Or the fact that I'd been lobbying Congress behind closed doors for immigration reform? You didn't research that, did you? Because it doesn't fit the Hollywood hypocrite narrative you were told to sell." The crowd roared, some cheered, others booed, creating a cacophony that drowned out Mia's weak attempt to steer the conversation. Let's talk about the film's impact. Security guards edged closer to the stage, sensing the volatility, while a producer's voice crackled through the headsets. We're trending on X already. Keep it live! Angelina's words were slicing through Gayle's armor, but the talk show host had one last card to play, and it was a low blow that would push Angelina to the brink. Gayle leaned forward, her eyes narrowing as she went for the jugular. Okay, let's talk truth then. Your kids, Angelina. Maddox, Zahara, Shiloh, they've all been dragged through the tabloids because of your divorce. You talk about protecting the vulnerable, but what about them? Don't they deserve a mother who puts them first, not globe-trotting for photo ops? The audience gasped louder than before, a collective intake of breath that seemed to suck the oxygen from the room. Lena whispered, "Oh no, she didn't," while Mia covered her mouth, horrified. Angelina's face flickered with pain, her eyes glistening for a moment before hardening into steel. The cameras caught it all, the tremble in her hands, the way her shoulders squared as she absorbed the blow. "You've crossed the line, Gayle," she said, her voice low and dangerous. "My children are my world, and I've fought every day to give them stability despite the chaos you and others amplify. You don't get to weaponize them for your show." The studio was a tinderbox now, and Angelina's next move would either defuse it or set it ablaze. But a sudden interruption from an unexpected source was about to change everything. Before Angelina could continue, a voice cut through from the audience. "She's right, Gayle, back off." A young woman, no older than 25, stood up, her phone still recording but her face flushed with emotion. The cameras swung toward her, and the producers scrambled to identify her. "I'm a refugee from Syria," she shouted, her voice trembling but clear. "Angelina's work helped my family get education and safety. You don't know what she's done for us." The crowd erupted again, some clapping, others shouting in support or dissent. Gayle, caught off guard, tried to regain control. "I appreciate your passion, but this is a conversation between—" Angelina cut her off, turning to the woman with a look of gratitude. "Thank you," she said softly, then faced Gayle again. "That's why I do this work. Not for your ratings, not for headlines, but for people like her." The audience was on its feet now, a mix of cheers and boos filling the studio. Mia and Lena sat stunned, while security moved toward the standing woman, unsure whether to escort her out or let her stay. The producers were screaming into their headsets. "This is viral gold, don't touch her!" As the chaos peaked, Angelina made a decision that would cement this moment in television history. But what she did next would leave everyone speechless. Angelina turned to the audience, her voice rising above the din. "I came here to talk about a film that matters, about people who need our help. But instead I'm defending my life, my kids, my heart. I'm done." With that, she unclipped her microphone, letting it drop to the floor with a soft thud that echoed like thunder. The audience gasped, some standing, others frozen. Gayle's mouth opened, but no words came out. Mia stammered, "Angelina, please stay." But it was too late. Angelina walked off the stage, her heels clicking sharply against the polished floor, each step a declaration of dignity. The cameras followed her until she disappeared behind the curtain, leaving the studio in stunned silence. Lena finally spoke, her voice shaky. "Well, that was something." Gayle, visibly rattled, tried to pivot. "We'll be right back after this break," she said, but her usual polish was gone. The producers scrambled to cue the commercial, but the damage was done. The clip of Angelina's exit was already exploding on X, racking up millions of views within minutes. But there was one final twist waiting in the wings, one that would redefine the narrative entirely. As the show cut to commercial, whispers spread through the audience and crew. A staff member, later revealed to be the source of the leaked memo, had slipped Angelina a note just before the show, warning her of Gayle's plan to ambush her. That note, now circulating online, confirmed Angelina's claims about the producer's ratings-driven agenda. The fallout was immediate. Hashtags like #AngelinaWalks and #GayleExposed trended worldwide, with fans and critics alike debating who was in the right. Some praised Angelina's grace under fire, others accused her of dodging accountability. Gayle's reputation took a hit, with commentators questioning whether her hard-hitting style had crossed into cruelty. The show issued a statement claiming the memo was misinterpreted, but the damage was done. Angelina, meanwhile, posted a single message on her foundation's website. The work continues. For the voiceless, always. The question lingered in the air, buzzing across social media and newsrooms. Who won this showdown? Was Angelina's exit a triumph of principle, or a refusal to face tough questions? What do you think? Did Gayle go too far, or was Angelina hiding behind her platform? Share your thoughts below, and don't miss the next chapter of this unforgettable saga.